Dillian the Body Snatcher right here. It's a champ. Big up to Sporting Icon. Subscribe. Otherwise, I might pay you guys a visit.
Right, so Eddie Hearn has confirmed that the Dillian Whyte vs Dereck Chisora 2, the rematch, looks like it's not going to happen now. Which I know for a lot of people, especially the hardcore and the real boxing enthusiasts, is good news. It's music to their ears. And the reason for it is that Dereck Chisora is refusing to budge on certain demands for this fight. Now, don't get me wrong, Dereck Chisora should get paid for this fight. Of course he should. And yes, it's a big fight domestically and liable to earn both of them a crap load of money. But you know what? Let's be real about it. Dillian Whyte has already beaten Dereck Chisora. Don't matter whether you believe in the result or not, have a look on BoxRec. The official record says Dillian Whyte beat Dereck Chisora. Okay, so again, he didn't have to fight him. He's already been there. He's already done it. The other thing is that Dillian Whyte is ranked number 1 in the WBC. Dereck Chisora is ranked number 11. Dereck Chisora lost his last step-up fight against Jarrell. You could probably argue with Carlos Takam, but again, let's be real, against Carlos Takam, he was losing that fight up until he hit and knocked out Carlos Takam. And I was so proud of him with the fact that he managed to somehow claw it back and beat Takam. I was so proud of him for it, I really was. But Dillian Whyte is pay-per-view. Dillian Whyte sold out the O2 Arena against Joseph Parker, again on pay-per-view. Dillian Whyte is a WBC silver champion. Dillian Whyte has an opportunity to fight Anthony Joshua on April the 13th at Wembley Stadium. So Dillian Whyte has so much to lose, and Dereck Chisora has nothing to lose, because even on paper, Whyte is supposed to beat Dereck Chisora. The first time round, again, yes, it was a close fight, no doubt about it. But the fact is that was Dillian Whyte's 4th fight in only 6 months, which is tiring. And you could see from Dillian Whyte, he gassed early in that fight. He had no energy. But yet Dereck Chisora still couldn't get rid of him. And he still lost to Dillian Whyte, even though that was his 4th fight in only 6 months. And since then, Dereck Chisora has already taken a loss, as I said, against Jarrell in Monte Carlo for the European title. While Dillian Whyte has been fighting undefeated former world champion Lucas Brown, former world champion Joseph Parker. You see, he's been doing this stuff. Robert Helenius, a guy who beat Dereck Chisora. So for me, I think that that this fight shouldn't happen, and I'm not going to go into certain things that I know and whatever, but I will say that I did say to Dillian that Dillian is the clear A side in this one. Okay, so for me, 80-20 in Dillian Whyte's favour. To be real, and I like Chisora. I do actually like him. Okay, and every time he fights, I always wish him all the best. I really do, except of course when it's against Dillian Whyte, of course. But in this one, because Dillian has so much to lose and nothing to gain other than financially against Dereck Chisora, and the fact that he would get to finish off Chisora, as in do to Chisora what he should have done first time round. But ultimately, you know what? I'm happy about this fight not happening. I don't need to see this fight. If the fight did happen, as on pay-per-view, of course I'll buy it up. I'm a huge Dillian Whyte fan. But ultimately, no, I would rather that Dillian Whyte fights Dominic Breazeale. That's the one I want for a whole number of reasons. Number one, that Dillian Whyte is number 1 in the WBC. Dominic Breazeale is number 4, yet Dominic Breazeale is the mandatory, which is outrageous. And the WBC have just dropped the ball on this one. So for me, Dillian Whyte versus Dominic Breazeale for the official mandatory should happen. Dillian Whyte then beats Breazeale, and then he becomes the mandatory and the number 1, which is how it should be. And then come December, when the WBC order the winner of Wilder and Fury to fight the official mandatory, which currently is Dominic Breazeale, then Wilder, if he was to beat Tyson Fury, which of course he is going to be the favourite, and if he does beat Tyson Fury, then he can no longer avoid Dillian Whyte. Regardless of the fact there's an April 13th date there for Dillian Whyte, for me, I would prefer it, and it is just a preference, that Dillian Whyte takes on Wilder first, gets that belt, rescues Sophia, as Deontay Wilder calls his WBC title Sophia for whatever reason. Personally, I think he's more like Billy Fritzl holding that damn belt hostage. Okay, so Dillian Whyte rescues that belt, becomes WBC World Heavyweight Champion, then Dillian Whyte fights the rematch that me and a lot of you guys would love to see again in Anthony Joshua versus Dillian Whyte for undisputed. Two British guys for undisputed. I mean, come on now. For me, Dillian Whyte is the most improved heavyweight right now. You could argue Joshua as well. Of course, he has improved since the Dillian Whyte fight, but I think that Dillian Whyte has improved a little bit more. But who's going to win that fight? Again, we don't know. That's why I'd love to see it again, and I would expect it to be a whole lot harder fight than what the first time was. And in the first time round, Dillian Whyte rocked Joshua. And that was the very first moment. So from that moment, people seen Anthony Joshua as vulnerable when he gets hit in the whiskers. From that moment. I still don't think he's vulnerable, not at all. Well, I say he's not. Every heavyweight is vulnerable. If you get hit in the button, it's good night, isn't it? But from that moment, Dillian Whyte, his stock elevated from that moment. And a lot of people looked at Joshua like, actually, you're not the machine that people thought. You are vulnerable. And in some ways, that's helped him and his profile. Because he is vulnerable. People like vulnerability. Of course they do. People want to watch Joshua. Maybe this is the fight he's going to get chinned. Maybe. And Joshua said it himself. He fully expects, before his career is over, to have taken a loss or two. And why not Dillian Whyte be the one to deliver it? I'm not saying he will, but you know what, why not? So anyway, I think that him fighting Chisora, and I have kind of kept a little bit quiet about it, and and I'll be honest, I have said to Dillian Whyte that I think that Chisora should just take any damn offer, because, to be honest, he hasn't earned a shot at Dillian Whyte. That's just my honest opinion. And hopefully, if this fight doesn't happen, then it's going to be against Dominic Breazeale. If it turns out to be against Luis Ortiz, fine. But I don't want him to take it on the promise from Wilder that he's going to fight him next. Because for me, I don't think he will. I think he'll hide behind the WBC, knowing that the WBC are going to call the mandatory in December, with no exceptions. And that means that either Wilder must fight Joshua or he must fight Breazeale. In other words, Dillian Whyte is out in the cold even after beating Luis Ortiz, which is why I want him to take on Dominic Breazeale. Hopefully that fight happens. That's my preference, but as I said, if he takes on Luis Ortiz, great. If somehow they can get the deal done with Dereck Chisora, and Dereck Chisora becomes a bit more reasonable in his dealings with this one, then okay, fine. You know what, get it done. Dillian Whyte goes in there, does what I believe he could have done in the first time round had he not been fatigued going into the fight, and which is walk through Chisora. And I believe he stops Chisora next time. But you know what? Let's see. So according to Eddie Hearn on the IFL TV interview, again, I'll put that in the description box, that it looks like Dereck Chisora and Dillian Whyte Part 2 looks pretty much dead in the water now. As Dillian Whyte has told Eddie Hearn, you know what, move on, find me someone else. And hopefully that somebody else is Dominic Breazeale. But we'll have to wait and see. Maybe it's Miller. Who knows? Maybe it's Povetkin. Who knows? Drop your thoughts below, click that thumbs up, and of course subscribe. Catch you all on the very next video.